J-Bone here. Before we get into today's show that remembers the unbelievable 2021 Formula One season, I want to do 3 quick things. First, wish you all a happy holiday season. Second, let you all know that you asked and J-Bone listened. Formula Bone merch is available now. For Formula Bone's first ever merch drop, we have a Formula Bone F1 show shirt and an embroidered Formula Bone hat. They're both very nice, very great, high quality, awesome designs. You can check them out at bolenmedia.com/shop. That's BOLENMEDIA.com/shop. There's a link to that URL in the description of this episode. And finally, before we get into the show, I want to remind you all that starting soon, I, J-Bone, will be providing you all with the racing content that you need this F1 offseason by live streaming myself doing career mode in the F1 2021 video game on twitch.tv/FormulaBone. Go now to twitch.tv/FormulaBone. Hit me with a follow. We're going to start off there with some practice sessions on Twitch so I can get a little bit better at using the steering wheel and pedals that I'm currently terrible at, which it's probably funnier that I'm bad and better live stream content. Hopefully through these practice sessions can work on those abilities a little bit and get my driving legs under me so I can start competing once I'm racing against some AI versions of real drivers. And after these practice sessions, I will start to do 1 to 2 Grands Prix every single week. Every week until F1 returns in late March. Okay? It's going to be super fun, super funny, super entertaining, and I will be talking to and engaging with chat the entire time, including having chat making decisions for me as a driver, decisions about the car, tactical decisions. I'm so pumped to get to doing this. Make sure to go follow me on Twitch at Formula Bone to get notified when I go live. Without further ado, this is the Formula Bone F1 show. J-Bone! Welcome back to the Formula Bone F1 show, the Formula One podcast that, unlike Formula One, has no off-season. I'm Jared J-Bone Borislow, and we have a fun and nostalgic episode today in which we will be remembering the most iconic and memorable moments from the 2021 Formula One season, followed by me telling the story of the lap I recently did at Circuit of the Americas, aka the home of the United States Grand Prix, in my crappy 2008 Nissan Sentra SL that they somehow let on the racetrack. Thank you for joining me here today, and away we go. Today's main topic is my top 10 2021 Formula One season moments. Hopefully this run-through of what I believe to be the top 10 most iconic, memorable moments from the 2021 F1 season triggers some nostalgia for you, some nice memories, some fond things you can look back on. And also, hopefully, it allows you to even further appreciate the insanity, entertainment, and sport that was the 2021 Formula One season. Let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? And let's dive in. My number 10 moment from the 2021 F1 season is Nikita Mazepin. There are plenty of billionaire sons in Formula One, but none more error-prone and controversial than Haas's Nikita Mazepin. 2021 was Mazepin's rookie year, which had a number of highlights or lowlights, depending on how you look at it. There's the fact that he technically finished in 21st place, despite there only being 20 places on the grid, because he technically finished the season behind Alfa Romeo alternate driver Robert Kubica. There's also the fact that he, at one point, had to have his father, the billionaire, buy his car a new chassis because Haas didn't want to pay for it. But Nikita Mazepin is known best in the 2021 season for being Nikita Mazepin. After spinning out 5 times during the first race weekend of the 2021 season in Bahrain And 3 times the following weekend at Imola, Nikita earned the nickname Nikita Mazepin for obvious reasons. He'd go on to spin a total of 22 and a half times in the 2021 season, according to the unofficial Nikita Mazepin spin tracker, which might be a record. I don't know. I have no idea if they keep track of that, but they should, starting this season with Nikita Mazepin now being the record holder. But I'm sure Nikita himself is able to tune out all that spinning that he did in the 2021 season and tune out the fact that he finished 21st out of 20 and focus on the one big win he had in 2021, that legendary fastest lap that he had at Spa at the Belgian Grand Prix, which, yes, they did end up taking away from him. But as the Haas Twitter admin notably said, the streets will never forget. My number 9 moment from the 2021 F1 season is the entire United States Grand Prix weekend. Obviously, I'm biased here as an American, but the 2021 USGP was just such an iconic event in both the history of Formula One and the history of motorsport in America. It was, of course, the most attended F1 race weekend ever, with 400,000 plus fans in attendance, including me, J-Bone, whose first ever time it was attending an F1 race. You can check out my video recaps for each day of the 2021 USGP on my YouTube. It's in my YouTube Shorts section or on my TikTok. Check those out. They were very fun. And you can get a sense of what it's like to attend a Formula One race if you've never been to one before. The USGP also signaled the arrival of F1 in America, thanks mostly, of course, to the popularity of the TV show Drive to Survive. The United States has long been thought of as stock car first, Indy car second, and F1 third, or maybe even lower, depending on, who you ask. And I think that the 2021 United States Grand Prix signaled to both the USA and the world that Formula One is fast growing here stateside and will soon be battling for that top spot in terms of popularity. Might not be next year, might not be in 2 years, but we're coming for that top spot. Formula One, baby. And of course, the USGP also gave us the legendary Martin Brundle, Megan Thee Stallion grid walk and the now infamous quote, "I can do that because I did." My number 8 moment from the 2021 F1 season is that crazy finish in Baku. Now, Max had this race in the bag, if you remember, until a catastrophic tire puncture ended his day on the main straight right at the end of lap 46 of 51. We got a great meme image from this of Max kicking his tire, like really cartoonishly, like with his arms, like really getting his arms into it and everything. Great meme image. So Max was knocked out of the race. The race restarted after a red flag with 2 laps remaining, with Checo in P1 and Lewis in P2. After an off-the-line battle, Lewis looked as if he'd be making turn 1 first and taking P1, but he locked up big time while trying to hold off Checo and went into the runoff area, which effectively ended his day. Lewis ended a 54 race point scoring finish streak. He had scored points in 54 straight races before Baku, and it ended with that lockup. And neither he nor Max, the 2 leaders in the title race, scored any points. Checo went on to win, with Sebastian Vettel, getting his only official podium of 2021. Personally, I still give him Hungary. I think he deserved it. I think he earned it. Who cares about the amount of gas you have left? I don't think Aston Martin was doing some sort of gas cheat, but whatever. It's the frickin' rules, I guess. Now, Baku is also another instance where Checo helped Max win the 2021 World Drivers' Championship, as his battling with Lewis at the restart is what caused Lewis to lock up and drop out of the points. And obviously, if Lewis had gotten on the podium or even gotten in the points in this race, it could have massively changed how the World Drivers' Championship ended. But Checo did Checo things, defended Lewis for Max, and it worked out for Max. My number 7 moment from the 2021 F1 season is the absolutely incredible racing that we got at Spa-Francorchamps during the Belgian Grand Prix. Oh my goodness. Just an unbelievable race, unbelievable entire race weekend. I mean, that race, though, just had nonstop action. Everybody who went to that race and spectated 100% got their money's worth. Wow. As a reminder for you guys of who won the race, P1 went to safety car driver Bernd Maylander, who was also, of course, named driver of the day. George Russell took P2 after a stonking Q3 lap, put him at P2 to start the race. And of course, P3 went to medical car driver Alan van der Merwe with fastest lap, as I said earlier, going to Nikita Mazepin. Wow, what a lap that was for him. The streets will never forget. The Belgian Grand Prix is definitely a candidate for race of the year, in my opinion, with my opinion, of course, being sarcastic and all based around things I just made up. But I do think, regardless of the lack of racing and all the controversy involved with awarding points and taking away Mazepin's fastest lap, that the Belgian Grand Prix was definitely an iconic moment from the 2021 F1 season, for better or worse. Definitely worse, but we all still remember it. I think it's definitely worth bringing up here in these top 10 moments from the season. My number 6 moment from the 2021 F1 season is going to make me cry, because it's Lando coming this close to winning the Russian Grand Prix before having his heart, as well as the hearts of millions, ripped out when he decided not to pit for inters when it started raining and ended up stranded out on the track, skidding around and looking like a baby giraffe on ice trying to learn to walk for the first time. This would have been back-to-back wins for McLaren after they hadn't won since 2012. And honestly, after this race, Lando never regained his early to mid-season form. Whether it was mechanical or confidence issues, who knows? All I know is that I felt so bad for Lando and was rooting for him so hard. And it was easily the most emotionally invested I've ever been in a race as a neutral F1 fan who doesn't have a favorite driver or team. Because as I said, all the Lewis fans think I'm a Max fan, and all the Max fans think I'm a Lewis fan, and I get it from both sides all the time. I'm a neutral. I just enjoy watching F1, and I enjoy all the different storylines, and I feel like if I was a fan of one team or one driver, then I wouldn't be able to fully appreciate all the different storylines going on. So I'm a neutral fan, okay? Stop coming after me, people. Jeez. This episode of the Formula Bone F1 show is brought to you by my favorite leg garment manufacturers, Birddogs. I wear Birddogs shorts, pants, or joggers constantly. Sometimes I even wear all 3 at once when it's really cold out and I want to wear 3 pairs of underwear and 3 leg garments at the same time for both warmth and coziness. And yes, by the way, I did say 3 pairs of underwear because Birddogs leg garments have a built-in liner that's both more comfortable and more convenient than whatever underoos situation you currently have going on. You can take that to the bank. Birddogs built-in underwear feels better on my skin than the finest cashmere, and is also super, super breathable and does not bunch up like traditional underwear. I love my Birddog shorts, pants, and joggers with the built-in underwear. You can also get it without the built-in underwear. Personally, I recommend the built-in underwear. But I love all my Birddogs leg garments so much that if my fiance leaves me, I'll probably just marry all of them instead in the world's first polyamorous leg garment ceremony. And yes, you're invited if that happens. Not saying it's going to. Not saying I don't want it to. Just saying I don't know if it's going to. Maybe it will. I think I covered all my bases there. Head to birddogs.com and get yourself the best shorts, pants, and joggers on planet Earth. And don't forget to use my code FBONE, that's FBONE, FBONE, so that they throw in a free whistle tip football and so they know J-Bone sent you. And by the way, yes, I said whistle tip football. All you have to do is go to birddogs.com, enter promo code FBONE, and they will throw in a free Birddogs whistle tip football. Remember those Nerf Vortex Howler footballs that whistle when you throw them? The footballs that you can literally throw a mile? Yeah, that one. Rumor has it, these things fly so far that F1 engineers study Birddogs whistle tip footballs to glean aerodynamics data from them that they can then apply to their cars. True story, maybe. I don't know. That's birddogs.com. Promo code FBONE, FBONE, and boom, a free Birddogs whistle tip football with your pair of Birddogs. You will not take these things off, I promise you. Go to birddogs.com right now. Load your cart up with the best shorts, pants, and joggers available on planet Earth. Plug in promo code FBONE to get that free whistling football and live happily ever after. That's birddogs.com, promo code FBONE. There's a link for that deal in the description of this episode. Thank you to Birddogs for supporting the Formula Bone F1 show. All right, back to my top 10 moments from the 2021 F1 season. My number 5 moment from the 2021 F1 season is Lewis Hamilton's insane Sao Paulo Grand Prix weekend. Lewis, how did he do this? Okay. It's truly bizarre. Now, I must note, you all already know my take about how Lewis's last to first Sao Paulo Grand Prix weekend almost certainly wouldn't have happened if it wasn't an F1 sprint weekend, because Lewis needed the sprint race in order to make up as many positions as he needed to make up. But that does not take away from the fact that Lewis was able to go from P20 in the sprint race on Saturday to top of the podium on Sunday, even with a 5-place grid penalty. It was one of the most remarkable race weekend performances in the history of Formula One. A lot of people, when I said my whole spiel about how it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't a sprint weekend, seemed to not understand that just because it wouldn't have happened if it was not a sprint weekend doesn't mean the fact that it happened on a sprint weekend is not cool. It was incredibly cool. It was one of the most remarkable performances, and I think it completely set the tone for the following 3 races of Lewis's that he drove incredibly well in, won 2 of them. And I think that this Brazilian, like what Lewis did in Brazil at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, that was completely, in my opinion, Lewis's 2021 championship winning moment when he went from P20 in the sprint race to top of the podium on Sunday. That was his championship winning moment until the safety car in Dubai, right? Like when you think back on this season, if Lewis had won in Abu Dhabi, like you would think back to everybody counted Lewis out of the entire championship, and he came all the way from last on Saturday to winning the race on Sunday. People would be like, that is the moment where Lewis, the tide turned. This was Lewis's championship. I think, sadly, Lewis's performance in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix will be somewhat lost to time. People are always going to remember it. It's going to be definitely like known as one of Lewis's greatest race weekends, but it's definitely not going to get all the acclaim it would have gotten had Lewis won the World Drivers' Championship this season. Just my take. My number 4 moment from the 2021 F1 season is actually many moments combined into one. It is all the Lewis and Max wheel-to-wheel battles and collisions that we got this season. The drama that these battles created was completely edge of your seat every single time it came across the screen. The 4 that stand out to me the most are Silverstone. Thank God that Max was okay after that huge impact he had with the barriers. Monza. Thank God Lewis was okay after the halo saved his entire head. Brazil. Thank God the rules are okay and always perfectly enforced by the stewards. Thank God. And Saudi Arabia, where unfortunately Toto Wolff's Bose headphones were not okay. They didn't make it. They didn't make it. Rest in literal pieces, Toto's headphones. My number 3 moment from the 2021 F1 season is the McLaren 1-2 at Monza. Somehow, the only 1-2 podium sweep that we got the entire 2021 season was the McLarens of Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris when they went 1-2 at Monza in a shoey-filled, tattoo-inspiring result at the Cathedral of Speed. Danny probably did not have the first year at McLaren that he was overall hoping for, but I don't think he really cares because he got his first Grand Prix victory since 2018 and did it right alongside his teammate. What an amazing feeling that must have been for Danny. With all the team changes he did and all the, is he back? Is he gone? Is he going to come back? For anyone who thought that Danny Rick left, he never left. He just moved aside for a while. Heard it right from his mouth. My number 2 moment from the 2021 F1 season is the wildly eventful Hungarian Grand Prix. This was my personal favorite race in 2021. From both this yeeting half the grid at the start, to Hamilton doing a standing start completely by himself, to Hamilton fighting his way through the entire field, to Fernando Alonso holding Hamilton off just long enough for his teammate Ocon to win his first ever Grand Prix. This race truly, truly had it all. Just complete drama and action and entertainment from beginning to end. Now, the only thing that would have made it better would have been Sebastian Vettel not getting disqualified, but I guess you can't have it all. By the way, Fernando Alonso's defense of Hamilton in this race actually won him the award at the FIA prize giving. That was pretty interesting to watch because of the, whole Lewis and Toto not being their thing. Fernando Alonso at prize giving won the award for FIA Action of the Year for his defense of Lewis Hamilton, which you have to think surely is part of El Plan. And finally, folks, my number one moment from the 2021 F1 season, I think you know what it is. It's that final lap in Abu Dhabi. Yes, it was and still is wildly controversial, but as a big fan of F1 history, as you're probably aware from watching my videos and listening to this podcast, I am ecstatic that I was alive to witness an all-time memorable F1 moment comparable to the 1989-90 Prost-Senna battles, the 1994 Schumacher-Hill collision, and the 2008 Is That Glock moment. This moment is in that pantheon now of insane, crazy, controversial endings to Formula One seasons, and we were here for it. Controversy has been and always will be a part of F1, and while I don't necessarily agree or really fully understand the decision-making that led to it, the last lap in Abu Dhabi was, and probably, until the day I die, will continue to be the most exciting lap of Formula One that my eyeballs have ever seen. 2021, what a Formula One season we witnessed. Here's to 2022. Support for the Formula BONE F1 show is brought to you by MyBookie, where you can win money using your knowledge of F1 and other sports. From all of the biggest games to the smallest events, make every bet worth your while with MyBookie on their website, MyBookie.ag. And right now, you can start your MyBookie journey off by doubling your first deposit instantly before you even place a bet because of MyBookie's first deposit bonus. All you have to do is sign up and deposit using my exclusive promo code FORMULA at MyBookie.ag. Stipulations apply, so make sure you read through those before you deposit. Furthermore, starting today, December 21st, and ending on January 1st, MyBookie is doing 12 days of giveaways to celebrate the holiday season to go along with that double deposit bonus. Every day during that span, there's a new promotion for you to redeem, from odds boosts to casino chips to straight up locks. Head to MyBookie.ag today to redeem your double deposit bonus so you can get in the game and start winning big today during MyBookie's 12 days of giveaways. That is promo code FORMULA, FORMULA, to receive double your first deposit instantly in your account. No hassle, no wait, stipulations apply. Make sure you read through those. There's a link for that deal in the description of this episode. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie at MyBookie.ag, promo code FORMULA. Thank you to MyBookie for supporting the Formula BONE F1 show. Finally today, I'm going to recap my experience getting in my 2008 Nissan Sentra SL and doing a track lap at Circuit of the Americas, aka COTA, aka the circuit which hosts the United States Grand Prix. I'm still pinching myself over here because I can't believe I actually did a lap at Circuit of the Americas in my crappy car. It blows my mind. I've made many jokes, many jokes at the expense of my not very nice car in my videos and here on the Formula BONE F1 show. And honestly, I don't know how much time my 2008 Nissan Sentra SL has left in her. I don't want to be morbid here on the Formula BONE F1 show, but I don't think my car is long for this world. The SL may stand for the standard of luxury, but what was luxurious in 2008 just isn't that luxurious anymore. Just ask anyone who still owns an Ed Hardy shirt. So when I heard they were doing paid track laps at COTA as part of their holiday season celebrations, I had to do one in the Sentra to give her a nice send-off in case she craps out on me here soon, which she'll probably do. The first order of business before doing this lap was putting air in my tires on the way there, because due to massive negligence on the part of my race engineer, who is me, one of my tires only had 16 of its recommended 32 PSI. Now, my tire strategy required me to start on the hards, not the softs, so I had to fill those suckers up with air. After getting to COTA, I drove to the pit lane and was immediately ushered onto the track. I mean, immediately. I thought I'd have like a minute or two to prepare myself physically, mentally, and emotionally, but I literally went straight from the check-in to the pit lane, where I was put behind a few other cars with a safety car up front, and we just all took off up the turn one hill right as I got onto the track. Now, because we went up turn one from the pit lane exit and not down the main straight, we didn't go up the full massive turn one hill, which is great, because I'm fairly certain my car would not have made it up, which would have been pretty embarrassing. I was still in a state of shock going up the turn one hill, and so it didn't really hit me that I was doing a lap on a Formula One circuit until I rounded turn one and headed downhill toward turn two, looking right at the iconic COTA Tower, and it just, all of it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually like living a dream of driving on an F1 track right now. This is absurd. And I must note here that I did this lap at like 8:45 p.m., and Circuit of the Americas is not a lit circuit. So I was essentially navigating the track off of memory, my crappy, dim, cloudy 2008 Nissan Sentra SL headlights, and the cars in front of me. Because of this, they didn't let you go crazy fast, which makes sense because it would not have been very safe to go fast when you can't really see that well. And also when you're not a trained race car driver. I'd say my top speed was probably around 40 miles an hour, maybe at some point. I tried to check my speed actually at one point, but I was so overwhelmed by everything that was going on that I accidentally looked at my fuel gauge instead and then just gave up so I could focus on my cornering. And if you're wondering, I had like 3/4 a tank of gas at the time, but don't know exactly what the whole speed thing was. Overall, it was an absolutely surreal experience getting to drive my crappy car on this amazing world-class grade 1 racetrack less than 2 months after I was watching in person as a Formula One race was ran on it. It was just crazy to be like, I'm driving on this. I just saw all the world's greatest drivers drive on this. I'm definitely not doing them justice, but I can at least appreciate being there as they were. It took my group of probably like 5 cars or so, like 7 minutes to do our full 3.4 mile lap, which is hilarious to look at considering F1 cars going at race speeds would have lapped us 4 times within that one lap. I wish they were there to do that. That would have been amazing. I went around turn 19 at like 35 miles an hour, which was the fastest corner I took on the racetrack, and it felt like I was whipping around that corner, okay? Now, that is a corner that I took at 35 miles per hour that F1 cars during races take at speeds of over 125 miles per hour. That just blows my mind. To think about going that fast around a racetrack, like around a corner, how? And I also need to look up quick. I try to always do the miles per hour and kilometers per hour. I didn't do it here, so I'm going to do it live while I'm talking. Okay, here we go. 125 miles per hour to kilometers per hour, if you were wondering, is 201. So, yeah. Insane. Wow. All in all, it was an incredible experience, and if you ever get the chance to do a lap on a Formula One circuit in your own personal car, however crappy that car may be, do it. You will not regret it, and it will be the greatest memory you ever have in your car. I promise you. Thank you so much for joining me for the first of many, many F1 off-season episodes of the Formula Bone F1 show. As a reminder, the Formula Bone F1 show has no off-season, and I will still be coming at y'all with a new episode every single week. Before I get going, though, I'd like to once again remind you that you can buy Formula Bone merch right now at bolenmedia.com/shop. There's a link to that URL in the description of this episode. At the very least, go check out the designs. I think you'll like them. I'd also like to cordially invite you to join the Formula Bone Discord server. We're almost at 200 members. 200. We're almost at 200 members who are in there to talk all things Formula One, discuss the Formula Bone F1 show, meet new F1 friends, and more. If you don't join my community of like-minded F1 fans who are there to just have fun, talk F1, meet cool F1 fans, and have people to talk about F1 with, are you really an F1 fan? I don't know. And I can't know unless you join the Formula Bone Discord, and there's a link to join the Formula Bone Discord in the description of this episode. Also, it would really help the show out if you could help support today's sponsors. That is Birddogs, promo code FBONE at birddogs.com for a free whistle tip football, and MyBookie, promo code FORMULA at MyBookie.ag for a double deposit bonus. Stipulations apply. There's a link for both those deals also in the description of this episode. You can follow me, J-Bone, everywhere on social media at Jared Borislow. That is JaredBorislow. And if you are now, after listening to this episode, all caught up on the Formula Bone F1 show, but want to keep hearing my voice, I co-host a comedy and mental health-focused podcast called the Bolen Podcast, where we have a ton of fun covering a very wide variety of topics, including current events, non-F1 sports, fast food, funny news stories, cool animals, insane history, and much, much more. It's a show about really everything, but it's, not... Well, it's the opposite of Seinfeld, which is a show about nothing. It's a show about everything. It's just as fun as Seinfeld, but also the opposite. It's kind of confusing. You're going to have to listen if you want to truly understand. And you can check out the Bolen Podcast wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. Or if you're watching on YouTube, the Bolen Podcast is on YouTube too. That's ROSSBOLEN, the Bolen Podcast. It's time for the NPR style sign-off. The Formula Bone F1 show is recorded in Austin, Texas, and brought to you by Bolen Media. It's hosted by me, Jared J-Bone Borislow, and I also produce the show because I'm a content machine. Cade Orris makes a bunch of the show clips that you see on social media at Formula Bone. Our iconic theme music is by 7 to Midnight. You can follow him on social media at the number 7 TO Midnight. You can follow the show on social media by following at Formula Bone everywhere. You can watch the show on YouTube by searching Formula Bone, and you can help the show gain new listeners by rating and reviewing the Formula Bone F1 show on Apple Podcasts, and now rating the show on Spotify. They just added this feature in. If you could go rate the Formula Bone F1 show 5 stars on Spotify right now, I'd be so grateful for you. Until next week, J-Bone!